In the heart of a city that glittered with frost and festive lights lived a man named Arthur Pumble. Arthur owned the largest, most successful toy factory in the town, a place that should have been the epicenter of joy. But Arthur Pumble was a man whose heart was as cold as the winter wind. He saw Christmas not as a time for cheer, but as a peak season for profit. His office, perched high above the factory floor, was stark and gray, a stark contrast to the colorful chaos of toys being assembled below. He paid his workers meagerly, scoffed at their requests for a Christmas bonus, and believed that happiness was a commodity, one he was selling, not sharing. One Christmas Eve, as the last of his weary workers trudged home, Arthur remained, counting the day's immense profits. A bitter wind rattled the window panes, and the city outside fell quiet. As the clock tower chimed midnight, a strange, shimmering light filled the room. Arthur squinted, annoyed at the interruption. Standing before him was a figure made of shimmering tinsel and warm, glowing light. It was the spirit of Christmas past. Without a word, the spirit took Arthur's hand, and his cold gray office dissolved. They were standing in a small, cozy cottage, filled with the scent of gingerbread and pine. A young boy with bright, hopeful eyes was carefully carving a small wooden bird. Arthur gasped. It was him as a child. He remembered that Christmas. His family had very little, but his father had given him a small block of wood and a carving knife. He'd spent weeks crafting that little bird, pouring all his love and hope into it. He remembered the pure, unadulterated joy he felt when he presented it to his mother on Christmas morning. It wasn't about its monetary value. It was about the love it represented. A tear, the first in decades, traced a path down Arthur's wrinkled cheek. The scene faded. Next, a booming, jovial figure appeared, clad in green velvet and adorned with holly. This was the spirit of Christmas present. He whisked Arthur away to a small, cramped apartment. Inside, one of his factory workers, a man named Thomas, was gathered with his family. His young daughter, Lily, who had been ill for months, coughed weakly by the small, sputtering fire. On the table was a meager Christmas dinner, yet the room was filled with love. Thomas raised a glass of water. "To Mr. Pumble," he said, his voice void of malice, "may he one day find the joy we have." Lily looked at a small, slightly damaged doll on her lap, a reject from the factory floor that Thomas had salvaged. Her eyes shone with more happiness than Arthur had ever seen in the children who bought his most expensive toys. Arthur's heart ached with a profound, unfamiliar guilt. He saw not just poverty, but a wealth of spirit he could never buy. The joyful spirit vanished, replaced by a silent, cloaked figure that seemed to absorb all light and warmth from the room. The spirit of Christmas future. Arthur trembled as it pointed a bony finger, leading him through a chilling, silent fog. They arrived at a desolate corner of the city cemetery. A few strangers stood around a plain, unmarked grave, their conversation drifting on the cold air. "Good riddance," one said. "The old miser never showed a kindness to anyone." "The world is a brighter place without him," another added. With dawning horror, Arthur crept closer and saw the name etched on the simple headstone, Arthur Pumble. He saw his factory, renamed and now run by a cheerful new owner, where workers sang as they worked and received fair wages and bonuses. His name was forgotten, or worse, remembered only with contempt. "No, spirit, no," Arthur cried out, falling to his knees. "This cannot be. I can change. I will change." He pleaded, he begged, his voice raw with desperation as darkness consumed him. Arthur awoke with a jolt. He was in his own bed. Sunlight streamed through the window, glinting off the frost. It was Christmas morning. He was alive. He leaped out of bed, his heart feeling impossibly light, as if a great stone had been lifted from it. He laughed, a real booming laugh that echoed in the empty house. He threw open his wardrobe and put on his finest suit, not for business, but for celebration. He rushed out into the street, greeting every person with a Merry Christmas. He bought the largest turkey he could find and a mountain of gifts and raced to Thomas S. apartment. The family stared in shock as Arthur Pumble, the man they feared, stood at their door with tears of joy in his eyes. He announced that Lily would see the finest doctors, all expenses paid. He gave Thomas a promotion and a bonus that made the man weep with gratitude. From that day on, Arthur Pumble was a changed man. His factory became the happiest place in the city. He learned that the true value of his work wasn't in the coins he collected, but in the smiles he created. And as he grew older, he was known not as the miserly toy maker, but as the man who understood the true meaning of Christmas, that the greatest gift one can give is a heart full of love and kindness. And his laughter, once a forgotten sound, became the most cherished Christmas carol in the entire city. Thank you for listening, and a very Merry Christmas to you all. If you enjoyed this story, please consider liking and subscribing for more.